think is actually a learning experience for us as well, because there are a lot of things that people just didn't traditionally think about, right? And we've had to really talk to people and listen to folks about what are the things that need to be changed, what are the difficulties that we might be presenting that we didn't realize we were even presenting 2, 3, 4 years ago. So that's one of the roles that I play. And then as chair of the Michigan Civil Rights Commission, obviously, we are always looking at ways in which we can increase access across the state. One of the things that we've done is start to listen to more groups, but also to go around the state. You know, the Civil Rights Commission has been so focused in many ways on just our region. But we understand that so many people from around the state need to hear from us, and we need to hear from them to learn what it is we can do better. So in both of those roles, I think the biggest connection is really learning and listening and figuring out how we can get better.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Christopher Sapp. I work for the City of Detroit in the Office of Disability Affairs in the division, under the Division of Civil Rights and Inclusion and Opportunity. We formally launched in February of 2021, and we helped serve over 123,000 Detroit residents with disabilities, with different policy areas, with housing, employment, transportation, sidewalks, I mean, just a myriad of different areas. And we make sure that ADA, that these individual entities are in compliance with the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. Also, we provide programming and outreach with different community resources. We provide interpreters for different events and meetings. And I also helped to launch the Disability Awareness Employee Resource Group. That was January of 2022. That supports individuals and advocates for city employees to help make sure that the workplace is inclusive and make sure their place is accessible. We provide different workshops and presentations for like FMLA, accessible meetings, just a lot of different trainings that we provide for city employees to help change the mindset for and proper disability etiquette, like language use and different things like that. So that's my role.
Thank you very much. We are happy to have all of you here with us. We appreciate you. I do want to acknowledge our interpreters today. This is Ms. Toya and Ms. Jackie, and they are here to interpret for us, so we want to make sure that we thank them as well from blessed hands, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. Okay. Very good. So it's scheduled for us to have a break. However, since we had already broke for so very long and we were behind, I'm just going to skip the break, and then we're going to go into the next thing. I hope you all were able to enjoy your lunch that was there. We thank you for coming and having lunch with us. What we're going to do next is start with our own Jamie Jr., who is going to present the toolkit. The ADA toolkit, the accessibility toolkit that has been created. We worked very hard to make sure that this toolkit was helpful to employers, helpful to nonprofit agencies, to make sure that we are ADA compliant, to give them tools to go by. Sometimes the employers don't know. I think Ms. Robeson said it's a learning experience for everybody, so we want to continue to learn, and we want to be able to help our partners in the community to learn as much as possible as we move forward. So without further ado, we're going to have Jamie Jr. come up, and she's going to introduce the toolkit.
I'm going to use the microphone because I don't have an inside voice. But to cut down on All right. right, good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank you all so much for coming. I want to thank our esteemed panelists for being here today. And I want to say that I don't think I could echo any, I want to echo everything they said. And I'm so pleased that companies like Focus Hope, Rocket Companies, and the city of Detroit are paying attention to accessibility and inclusion, not just being ADA compliant. So if I had my hat, I would take it off to you, but thank you so much. So without further ado, this is our workplace accessibility toolkit.
Do you have a clicker?
No. So our first tool, I don't need it for the first tool, when hiring individuals, whether they have seen or unseen disability, just hiring people in general. One good practice would be to focus on essential job functions. And that allows everyone to have a chance to take advantage of the hiring process. Okay, so that's our first tool. Oh, you can't see me? Okay, let me turn around.
Separate camera.
So, okay.
Can you all see the screen
It's much better when it's dimmer.
when it's different? It's okay for right now. It's okay for right now. We'll just work with it.
Okay. So, next slide, please. So, as I said before, inclusive hiring begins with a skills-based hiring practice. And that is focusing on skills rather than background. And that can help create value for both the company and the employee. You could attract talent that you might not necessarily attract. On the right side of my slide, I have something that I found from Skillful that shows the difference between what they call pedigree-based job postings and skills-based job postings. So in a skills-based job posting, we focus on attracting the right candidate. Whereas in pedigree-focused or based job posting, we focus more on degrees, work experience, credentialing. And not to say that credentialing is not important, but most important is getting the right person for the job. Also, in a pedigree-based job posting, qualifications are listed. And most times people want qualifications that were generated through education or through on the job. But as a person who was not in the workforce for a while because I was a mother taking care of my child or helping with my family or just navigating life as a person with a disability, I developed a skill set that may not be reflected in a resume. I developed resilience, which is needed in a customer service job. I developed innovation, which is needed in an executive position. Those skills sometimes can't even be taught. They must be learned. And then unconscious bias. A lot of times resumes build biases for people because we look at names. We look at, unfortunately, in today's day and age, we look at zip code. We look at where a person went to school more than we look at the qualifications of the person, which could be damaging to the person. Okay. You can move to the next slide. So here are some tips for writing an inclusive job posting. There are list items that relate to essential job functions, remove unnecessary barriers, qualifications, credentials, and experience. Identify those skills that are required to succeed in the position. For instance, if a person is an employee that spends all of their time in an office setting, you should not require them to have a driver's license to be employed by your company because they don't need a driver's license. If they are working in a job where they will never have to lift more than maybe a ream of paper, which is about 5 pounds, there's no reason to require them to be able to lift 50 pounds to be able to be included in the pool of applicants for that job. Focus on software developed skills, which are those that I talked about, day-to-day responsibilities, and actionable results. Because sometimes we learn from people that have different backgrounds. We have a goal that we need to get to. Sometimes it's not important how we get there. And we can learn more in the process of getting there than we can from the results. Next slide. So onboarding employees. The tool here is thoroughly explain roles and responsibilities. And I would also add thoroughly explain the work environment as well. Will the person be working in a cold environment? Will they be standing 90% of the time? Will they be sitting 90% of the time? Will they have the opportunity to work in a hybrid situation? All of those things. So some suggestions for onboarding would be to pair new hires with a mentor that understands the organization, that can help them grow and learn. I know that was helpful for me. Provide clear instructions, once again, on navigating systems, not just job functions, but systems within the company. How does a person request time off? How does a person use their benefits in a way that is conducive to them? Test training materials. Like today, testing microphones and such. Test training materials to make sure that they are accessible to multiple groups of people. Each one of you all talked about having affinity groups or focus groups. So those are ways of testing materials to see what needs to be improved. Invest in multi-device onboarding software. Many companies like the city of Detroit, I know, using the onboarding software. Is that software accessible? Is there an alternative to that software? And create a virtual office tour for a person during the interview process. Let them see firsthand what they will have to navigate when they get there. Can be helpful to both the employee and the employer. It could stop from wasting some time. And request feedback after the hiring process is over. Ask them, was there anything that we could have done to better support you during that process? Next is accommodating employees. And the tool here is understand that your employees knows what they need to, wants to succeed in their role. And they know what they need to do so. So I can't say enough to speak to them often about what they need. And understand that providing reasonable accommodations typically means a slight modification to the environment or the way in which the task is performed in order to give an employee an equal opportunity to fulfill the role. If I could, Christopher, I kind of want to share an experience that both you and I had at the city of Detroit, if that's okay. So, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. So when we first started going into the office was set up in such a way that where we sat was further away from where everyone else sat. So a good way to help both Christopher and myself was to have me in a place where I could hear and see firsthand what was going on, so that if there was a danger or a situation that needed Christopher's immediate attention, I could get his attention because I was in his eyesight. And that was accommodating for me because it was a much open space as opposed to having me in a separate office where I couldn't see him or he couldn't see me. Remember that interactive process. The ADA speaks to an interactive process, and that is a process in which the person who requires the accommodation asks for the accommodation, whether verbally or on paper, and you discuss. You allow them to lead the conversation by telling them what they need, and then from there, you negotiate on what would be comfortable for both the employer and the employee. I can't state enough, the best way to be inclusive is to listen, and listen often. Next slide. So, workplace culture. This tool, and your name blanks from just now. Ms. Kamari spoke to it. Create a safe space for courageous conversations and necessary conversations with your employees between each other and in meetings. And next slide, please. So here are some steps you can use to create an emotionally safe environment. You can ask the group to make sure that they are paying their complete attention to whomever is speaking or whatever is going on. Allow each person to complete their thought. Ask follow-up questions to clarify if necessary. The enemy of alignment is not understanding. Share what was valuable about what was said. That encourages people to give their opinion more or to be more open. Use people's names when you speak to them or when you address an idea that they've set forth. Make sure you say, in the case, Christopher gave a great insight about how we can be more inclusive of employees that are deaf. I learned from him that I need to make room in a certain place for individuals who use an interpreter. And then, I don't believe if it's necessary for me to read all of these steps, I will. Okay, so let's just move forward. I got that resource from Harvard. So when thinking about information technology, one tool is to learn and follow web content accessibility guidelines. That is something that is often overlooked. And one way you can do that effectively is with Accessibility. Accessibility is a plugin that can be used on your website to make it accessible. And here's the video.
Hey everybody, I'm Accessibility, the leader in web accessibility solutions and services. In this video, you'll learn about Access Widget, Accessibility's AI-powered web accessibility solution, and how it helps people with a wide array of disabilities browse and use websites effectively. Access Widget simplifies and streamlines web accessibility and is compliant with the ADA, AODA, EAA, and other worldwide legislations in conformance with the WCAG 2.1 at the AA level. Installing Access Widget on a website takes 2 minutes and requires no prior technical knowledge. Let's find out how it works. Access Widget is built of 2 different applications that work together to make websites accessible and compliant. The first is our AI-powered process, which handles the more complex and vast majority of WCAG requirements. These include optimizations for screen readers and keyboard navigation for blind users and those with mobility disabilities. To make these adjustments, the AI scans and analyzes the website using a contextual understanding process It learns the purpose and function of every element before fixing it. Pop-ups, drop-downs, forms, validations, menus, links, and buttons are all included. Then, it applies different behaviors and ARIA attributes according to functionality and states of elements. Access Widget also utilizes computer vision and OCR image recognition technologies to provide accurate alternative text descriptions to images. The second part of our solution is the Accessibility Widget, which enables users with disabilities to adjust the user interface and website design for their specific browsing session, fitting their individual accessibility needs. Let's take a look. The Accessibility Widget mostly covers visual-related WCAG requirements and completes the AI engine. These requirements include adjustments for readable fonts, sizing, spacing, color contrasts, cursors, and emphases. Users have the choice between accessibility profiles, standalone adjustments, or both. The profiles at the top bundle together common accessibility combinations that address a specific disability. The user simply chooses the profile that's right for them. So, for example, a user with epilepsy that wishes to browse a website safely without the risk of seizures can choose the seizure-safe profile. Immediately, all colors are dulled and flashing or blinking elements are paused. Users with low vision, for example, can enable the vision-impaired profile. This visually enlarges all website components significantly, while making the colors more contrasted and saturated. Further accessibility adjustments can be made by choosing the
And move on. Other things to consider when thinking about information technologies are things that are listed here. When using a PDF document, be sure to properly tag your document so that things will appear. Any images or any fillable spots are tagged so that a screen reader can make those things viewable to a person with a visual disability. I like to say viewable because I have friends that are visually impaired, and sometimes they tell me they see with their mind's eye where I see with my physical eye. So it alerts them to where they need to fill in a blank or there's a decorative mark or picture or something like that. And then make sure that the document is in reading, the tags are in reading order, because we know what page 1 is, section 1 is, because we can see it with our eye. They can't. So if the document is not tagged in proper order, it won't read the right way for them. Then for your word processing documents, PowerPoints, and other things like that, they have accessibility checkers. Microsoft is really good. They have an accessibility checker. It's right under the review tab. And it'll let you know if things are out of order. It'll alert you to pictures that have no tags. It'll tell you things like slide 12 is missing a heading, so people can follow along if they needed to. And then finally, make sure that alt text is included or alternative text is included in any pictures, so you will visually describe what's going on. Like if I was on Zoom, I would have physically described myself as a person of like complected person with long hair and what I'm wearing, so that the person can feel included in that environment. Next tool. So now is the good part. The long-term impacts for your business of creating accessibility. So this tool is know the value of being intentional about creating a diverse workforce. So I'm going to read this verbatim. Companies that commit to diversity, to disability and inclusion have on average 28% higher revenue. That's a lot. Double the net income and 30% higher economic profit margins than their peers. I think Ms. Kamari spoke to that as well. The changes that they made to accommodate their employees make their services more accessible to their clientele as well. And also, in today's culture, people like to spend their money in places that are diverse. People are really intentional about voting with their dollars for what they want to see in the world around them. If your business does not have an actionable strategy for disability inclusion, you are leaving 26% of Americans, and that's probably more, because disability is an optional declaration. So you don't have to say that you are disabled. Many people don't. And you never know when you're sitting next to a disabled person. They're leaving 20% of revenue and potentially a greater revenue at the door. Next slide. So also there are financial incentives that are in place for employers that work with disabled employees. There's the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, there is the Disability Access Credit, and there is the Barrier Removal Tax Deduction. Next slide. So a few more good reasons contribute to society greatly. And again, I can't say it enough, in today's society, people really pay attention to impact on the communities that they live in and the communities that they serve, to the community of the world. You get to hear other voices and other perspectives as you go forward. Having a diverse workforce helps you to better serve a diverse consumer base as well, because your employees can give insights on how to better service those employees. Not to mention, you increase morale in your work environment. You get more loyal employees, and it's just an overall good idea. Here are some of my resources. So now I'm prepared to take questions if anybody has questions. And we will be making this toolkit and other information available after today.
We can hold questions to the end, that way if anybody has any questions or they have time to think about all the information that they received, you can answer all those questions at the same time. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Let's give Jamie another round of applause on all of our hard work. Jamie is one of the ADA coordinators here at the Student Network on County Board. Her along with Scott. Joy is also one of the ADA coordinators here at the Student Network. They are a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information for those of us who need information with it. Does somebody have a question?
No, also Lori.
And Lori, I'm so sorry. Listen, our executive director has a certification in everything. Anything we have, she has. She does not miss the mark on making sure that she is certified in all those things. So if somebody is not here and not available, you have no reason to worry, because you can always go to the executive director. She has all of the answers, and that is why she sits in that position. And we appreciate you for doing so, Ms. Lori. Thank you. Next up is me. Yes, that. We are going to talk about accessibility. We're going to talk about assistive technology and what that means. If I could have Tamika and I think Miss Lydia, I see back there, if you all could bring those devices in so we can talk about assistive technology. When I say assistive technology, does anybody know what that means? What does it mean when I say assistive technology?
Audience participation. So is the technology that, from my experience, that can help a disabled person to better do their job or those to carry them through school, education, and assistance to whatever their disability is?
Absolutely, thank you. I hope y'all just stand right up here with me with these good devices. So I'm gonna try not to turn off the light again, but hopefully we'll be able to walk through a lot of this stuff. So we got a great definition of what assistive technology is items that are used in the workplace and at home that can help you with, that will help you with being able to navigate throughout your workday. And as an employee, you may sometimes need additional accommodations that will help you to be able to do your job a little more effectively. Do I need to turn the light out? I can if I need to turn the light out. You can see? Okay, great. Let me flip it to side show, I'm sorry.
That way, you can't see them if you're in the back. Oh, we was going to stand.
Yeah, they're going to stand. So I got them in trouble. So assistive technology is a term for assistance, adaptive, and rehabilitative devices for people with disabilities and the elderly. And so those are all of these different items up here. I'll use Miss Lydia because she's here first. What she has in her hand is a stand for you to use your to hold your papers. If you are typing something, if you are reading something, it has a guide that will help you follow what you are reading. If you're typing, it will help you to use that as a place marker, and you can add that to your desk. So that is one of the items that you can use for assistive technology. It also has a magnifier, she says. So thank you, Ms. Lydia. That is one of those items that you definitely can use for assistive technology. You can put it on the table right there. Thank you. Next up, we have, let's do the magnifier. So we have two items right here. The first one is the laptop stand. So sometimes you may need the laptop to be a little higher. You might need it to be in your line of sight a little better. So you can use the stand to help you lift the laptop up. Next is the magnifier, and the magnifier you can use as well to see very small print on your laptop. You just put it right in front of your device, and it will help you to be able to see everything a whole lot better. It magnifies pictures as well as words. So those are two other things. The next one is one of my favorites, and it is the keyboard that has the turn around, Mr. Mickey, there we go. Lettering on there, so I really like that keyboard. It's cute to me. But the letters are bigger. You can see it a whole lot better, and that makes it a lot easier for those who are visually impaired. And I believe it also has Braille on it as well. If that one doesn't, there's one that has Braille. It has the Braille keys on it, so if somebody is typing and they need a Braille, they'll be able to use that as well. And the next one is for your wrist and arms, if you need to have something for your wrist, if they get tired. I know people use it if they have carpal tunnel. Also for your mouse, if you need something to help you navigate through the mouse. You can use all of those things towards assistive technology. For an employee you may have who needs that additional supports. The next two are the chairs. So this one was new for me. I didn't know about the seat boost. So this is the seat booster. You can use it in your seat. It goes up and it goes down. Danica will demonstrate for us a little bit. So it puts you way up high, and it will take you up, and it can take you down in the chair. So it will help with somebody if they want to move from one place to another, if you need to be seated higher, or if your desk is really high and you need to be lifted up, it will help you, the seat booster will help you to be able to get to the right height. We also have the lumbar pillow on the back of the other chair, and then there's another seat lift on there. That one is more of a seat cushion. I think people use that one for medical reasons too, if they need assistance. Those are things. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. On the floor. On the floor is the foot. The word escapes me. Footrest, thank you. The footrest that you can use, it is a massager on there as well, so you don't have to wear your shoes, or you can wear your shoes, but it has a massager on there to help you so your feet don't become numb if you've been sitting at your desk for too long. So those are some of the features that it has that will help you if you're sitting at a desk for long hours, but that footrest is awesome. So these are just some of the items that you can use at work for assistive technology. These items help your employees to be able to produce all day. You have them in the office and you want them to be able to produce all day. These things will help them to be able to be very productive throughout the day. You all can also view these items in the back. They'll be left out for display so you can see them as we move forward. You can check them out and see if it's something that you would like to use within your company, within your business. I think Jamie said earlier that if you have employees who you make the workspace inclusive, that makes them work a whole lot better. And so that's a fact. Having those accommodations will definitely help them. And I think that's it for assistive technology. And next will be our question and answers. So we want to thank you all for participating today, and now we will take questions from any of our panelists, from any of our presenters. If we can answer any questions for you, we will be more than happy to do so. I can walk the mic around if you have questions so that we can hear from each and every one of you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone in the room. I'm here because I'm trying to find out, as an employee, and my employer is not ADA compliant, nor do they care about disabilities. In fact, they're pushing a lot of us out employees. What do we do as employees? Like, what can we do to fight back against the employers not following the law?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think one of the things you can do is reach out to the Michigan Civil Rights Department. That's one of the first places I would go to in order to file a complaint against an employer who's not complying with ADA. That will be then assigned to an investigator, and the investigator will do the necessary work to find out what is happening. And if the business is found to be non-compliant, take the necessary measures to correct that. So I would encourage everyone to utilize the department. There has been increased funding for that department at the state level, which means that we can do more investigations and respond better to the complaints that come through the department.
Yes, and I'd also like to add to that as a deaf person, it's important that you know your rights. Like, if HR has their process, and I mean, if not, if they don't resolve it, then you would take it to the next level, as Commissioner Robertson has just said. Also, the EEOC Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. That's another option. So there are several options that you can try to utilize with your employer, especially if they don't have a HR department. In Detroit, we have the ADA complaint. So if you feel that you've been discriminated against, you can fill out a complaint form and we will investigate it. That's if it happens within the city limits of Detroit.
Any other questions?
Can I just wanted to add something that Jamie just said to me, that when I say listening is so important, you know, when we have put out job descriptions in the past, I think we have, in a standard way, put in, like, being able to lift a certain amount. And when I was sitting here listening to your presentation, I thought, why do we do that? Like, that's why these kind of things are so important, because it's something that I think standardly we did for years, and we didn't think about that there was really not a requirement. And as the director of a nonprofit in particular, you know, even if it was a higher sort of weight requirement, we have people that can assist with that. So that should not necessarily prevent someone from getting employment with Focus Hope or for probably other locations. But I just needed to say that because I was sitting here watching your presentation, and immediately that sort of dawned on me that it was something that I think we just put down on our job requirements, even though it really wasn't something. When I think about it, I'm not sure that it really is something that needs to be included going forward. So thank you for that.
Any other questions? I have a question for the panel. What would you tell a startup company or startup business if they were trying to make sure that they were being inclusive and being diverse? What would you tell them would be a good place to start?
I was going to say right here.
Start here? Great. It's a great place to start.
If I may.
Yeah, sure.
This is Christopher speaking. If any companies are preparing to start up like for the first times, I would encourage those companies to seek out resources like the Disability Network and get training on diversities, ability inclusions, and be familiar and become familiar with the disabled. Become your customers as well. So you don't want to exclude those individuals, and you want your environment to be inclusive and be aware of the ADA, what HR processes would look like, and what company competencies would include. And for example, how to make your workplace more inclusive, how to make more productively inclusive, prosperous. Your products, how to make your products or services more accessible as well. And I'm trying to think of other things that I could possibly add to this. Go on, please.
I just wanted to add on to that. I've had the opportunity to talk to and see a lot of startup companies, and often it's an afterthought. Like the product, the thing that you're building is most important. And then what happens is you have all these people and you haven't thought about how they work together, the dynamic of that. And so I agree with Christopher, like starting with curiosity around how you're going to have your people work together in an inclusive way, and thinking about diversity not as the first thing, because I think sometimes we go, okay, yeah, we should think about diversity, but the challenge with that is if you haven't created an environment where everybody can thrive, you haven't thought about equity in the space, then those folks just leave the organization. And so what I've seen with companies that are startups, they do very well at startups because it's like me, it's my friends, and we built it together, and then you explode. And then that's when you have all the issues because you didn't think about the very important part of people, all types of people, working together for a common goal.
Very good, very good advice. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
One piece of advice that I would give, and I also echo all the this, but when you're starting up, do a survey of the community that you intend to serve, because that community can tell you a lot, as Christopher said, how to make your services more desirable to people from diverse backgrounds. That will also influence how you move forward in building your platform, your staffing needs, because maybe you are in a community where there are many people who are deaf or hard of hearing. So that means you may want to look for someone who knows how to sign to be a part of your customer service team. Or just, yeah, that's what I want to say.
Got it.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? I see some heads nodding in the back.
One
Sure thing.
additional thing, as we were sitting here, we were looking at all the products, and Portia and I looked at the laptop stand, and I chuckled, and I said, I have one of those.
Me too.
Right, and then Portia says, I have two. And, you know, it's so interesting because we can be so myopic in our thinking. And what I mean by that is, like, I watch TV with closed captions on. And my future father-in-law makes jokes about, like, seriously, if you do that. But when you think about it, it wasn't designed for me. But look at all of the spaces, like if you look at closed captioning, if you're in a bar. I hate to go to a bar and they don't have closed captioning because it's loud and I can't hear, right? And so while, yes, the initial purposes of the things that will be created might be for a particular type of individual, what ends up happening is you raise your community because folks who had never thought about where they may be in a deficit are now being benefited by something that was not initially created with them in mind. So I think it's really important that we think about how we truly are able to benefit the communities by supporting the initial needs, but being innovative and thinking outside of the box and recognizing what comes when we do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to go off of what you were saying, we are doing Smart 911 now for emergency preparedness. We're going to launch that in June.
Come on up here, Ms. Lee, because everybody need to hear what you're saying.
What's Smart 911?
Well, we're going to launch Smart 911 emergency preparedness later in June. And emergency preparedness is where you prepare for emergencies, anything that might happen, not just necessarily fires, but if we have a tornado or lights go out or something. So it's made for people with disabilities, but it's also made for everyone. When I put my Smart 911 in, I don't have any kids, it's just my husband and I in the house. But these things, when you put in your information, it goes to first responders. And my grandchildren are 99.9% of the time at my house on weekends. So if a fire were to break out, and it was a Saturday, and the first responders came in, they know, look for a child. A child will be in this house. Or if Jamie puts hers in Smart 911, they know that they need to come in and help someone in a wheelchair out. So it can save minutes, it can save lives. Also, you were saying about the closed captioning. In the Smart 911 training that I learned, say you were deaf and a fire alarm goes off. Well, you can't hear. Okay, well, you can't hear, but you can see the light flashing. Okay, you're asleep. Now what do you do? So when you sign up for Smart 911, where they have a part of equipment, a piece of equipment that goes in between your mattress and your box spring. When the fire alarm comes up, it vibrates you, shakes you. They have that in hotels now too, that it shakes you, wakes you up, so that when you wake up, you see the light flashing, now you know that there's an emergency. So we're going to do Smart 911 if you'd like that, where you signed up. If you come out and put 911 by your name, we'll sure let you know. There's so many other things about what you need to put in boxes, put them away, have your family know where to meet you, everybody to sign up, who to call, those type of things. So I didn't mean to take this. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Lydia. She is our Advocacy and Community Education Director. So, that is valuable information that people need to know. So definitely contact us back. I think Smart 911 is going to start in June, and we will be training others. So it's definitely something that we will be prepared to give out. Any other questions or concerns, comments about anything that we talked about today, about the toolkit, about the assistive technology information? Any questions, any concerns from anyone? Sure thing.
I'm going to follow what I put in my presentation. We would also like your feedback. If there's something that we can do better next time to support you or the needs of somebody that you can think about, please let us know. That's important.
We will definitely make sure that that information is loaded. You all will receive a copy of the toolkit and the assistive technology information via download or via email, so that you can have all of the information that was seen in the presentation today. You will also see some of that information in the bags that you received with the folders, because that information is listed in there as well. But we wanted to make sure that we gave out that information in several different platforms, so you will receive it in the download as well, so that you all will have that information. But if you do have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out and contact us. As I stated before, Jamie Jr., Mr. Scott, as well as our Executive Director, Lori Hill, our ADA coordinator. So if there are any questions that they can answer for you, they would be more than happy to answer any of those questions, or help you get through some hurdles or some barriers that you may have with an employer, or for housing, if you need that as well. I do want to say that I do know that Wayne Disability Network, Wayne County, Detroit, is working on doing assessments in housing, so that is something else that will be coming up in the future. We have grants that will help to make accessibility changes within housing, and that is something that they're working on right now. So look for that to come. Again, I do know that Lori said this is the first of many, so that may be the second part, where we actually talk about what happens in the home and the items that you can use for assistive technology in the home, as well as at work. So this one was about employment, and we wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to have that information about your employers and your workplace, because we do want your workplaces to be comfortable for you. A lot of times we spend more time at work than we do at home. So that is super important, that we are comfortable in our workspace, that you feel inclusive in your workspace. So we wanted to make sure that that was the case. And if we can be of any assistance, please let us know. I do know that we were supposed to be here until 4 o'clock, but I want to hold you here all day because we had some technical difficulties. There were a lot more videos and things that we wanted to show, but because of the internet fiasco, I told you that Debbie was busy today. So we won't be able to show those, but we will make sure that they are included in the download so that you can have that information as well. But if there aren't any more questions, comments, or concerns, I do want to bring our Executive Director back so that wait, let me stop. I see Mama Gill, DP Fun Life, come on up here, Mom. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Come on down. For those of you who don't know, this is Ms. Gail Perry Mason. First, let me say, before I talk about her being a author and all of that she went to St. Martin de Porres High School, which is the best high school, was the best high school in the city of Detroit. So I will let her introduce herself to you. We know you all are on a busy schedule, but while we have some additional time, I will let her introduce herself to you and talk about what she knows in this area.
Okay, I don't know what area we're talking about, but anyway, I'm Gail Perry Mason, and what I do for a living is I invest for others. What I do for life, I invest in others. So that's what I do. So I talk about investing all the time. So my passion is teaching our youth, basically.
Money matters for youth.
And that's it. So whatever you want to know about budgeting, money, all of that.
She does all of that. She has a book out that says, Girl, get your...
Girl, make your money grow.
Girl, make your money grow.
Yeah.
Read that. I was a part of her Money Matters for Youth program. My daughter, who is 27 now, but she was a part of the Money Matters for Youth program way back then. But it's a great program. Ms. Gill is a wealth of knowledge as well. So if you have any questions for her after this, and she's already had the opportunity to do a little bit of talking, you can ask her some of those questions. Before I let the executive director come back up, I did want to thank everybody on our staff, Executive Director, Ms. Laura Hill, Ms. Melissa McGee. She is the Director of Public Relations, and she is responsible for getting our panel here. So we thank you, Ms. Melissa, for getting our panel here. I want to thank Mr. E. He is our Media and Communications Director, as well as Juan and Mr. Flynn for helping with the program today. Although we had a couple technical difficulties, we made it through, so thank you very much. Our Operations Director, Mr. Austin, Nicole Smalls is our HR Director, Caitlin Riley, who is our Director of Finance. Thank you very, very much for your assistance with the Town Hall ADA Awareness meeting today. Thank you very much for your help and your support. And Ms. Lynn, if you want to come on back up so we can end this meeting.
And I feel so bad. I miss it. Look, I get 2 tips. Okay. Let me get 2 tips for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay, I feel awful. Oh, my God. I feel so embarrassed. I'm sorry, Melissa. You know, I love you. Okay, 2 tips. I'm going to do this. I got to do this for Melissa. Okay, 2 tips. Get your phone out. Write this down. For everyone who has trouble budgeting their money. Does anybody here have trouble budgeting? Yes. Mint.com. You have to get this app. MINT.com. Get this app. It gives you a financial report card every single Friday. Another thing you need is everybody needs their own personal board of directors. Who do you need on your board? Of course, this panel, because I already know Portia. Focus Hope has everything. Everybody needs their own personal board. The executive director here, she's on my board, she doesn't know it. But anyway, and so is Melissa. But you need Disability Network. You need them on your personal board director. Another thing you need to do, if you want to have more than one avenue of income, it will teach you how to, if you look at your phone and play games on your phone, you got to get paid to do it. If you have too many clothes in your place or whatever, teach you how to make money just by selling your clothes, just by watching TV, just by watching YouTube videos, how you get paid. You have to go to this, go to this email, thepennyhoarder.com. You will thank me later. It's called thepennyhoarder.com. You will actually, they send you ways to make money every single day. So anyway, so at least I wanted to give something, Melissa. So okay. So do that, and I promise it will change your whole life. That's it.
All right, thank you, Gail.
Okay, I'm sorry. Girl, we're supposed to talking to you.
Blame it on.
I gotta blame my y'all director.
I want to thank our panelists for coming out this afternoon. This is the first of this series, but I really want to rear this up, get out to so many different HR directors, really get them pulled into this, to understand the true importance of it and understanding the true good stock of quality of workforce that you have with people that are disabled as well. So I thank you all for coming out this afternoon. I believe they have some time for you can talk and network, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for coming out this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you checked out RocketMoney.com?
I was gonna mention that too. You know, I was gonna mention Rocket Money. I know, oh yeah, you got that right. I need to mention Rocket Money. So I got my kids doing that this summer. So we're going to do the Rocket Money. Because that is good for the kids. Okay. I'm working Rocket. Okay, that's right. So, but Rocket is like the...
Hi everyone, I'm Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. Thank you so much to all of the advocates, everyone involved in the Disability Network. I want to acknowledge that you are valued and appreciated as you speak truth to power about the racial disparities during this pandemic. I know that the inequity in funding and also application of processes and different programs have felt very much a form of oppression for many of those that live with disabilities. And know that I see and hear you, that you have an advocate in Congress always, and I will always have your back. Please know that transformative change happens when we all demand it on the streets, and so all the work that you are doing right now to elevate the truths about what you all are experiencing is how we change government and how we make sure that government's going to be about all people. And so I really appreciate all of you. And again, thank you. It's such an honor to represent you in Congress, and it's such an honor to fight for you. Thank you.
Your interview will take all of 3 minutes. Okay. Come on back in.
Inclusivity is key in today's world. It motivates participation in every aspect of everyday life. It opens doors and bridges the gap for 15% of the global population living with a disability. To rally for inclusivity, we work side by side with the community and provide resources and tools, educational activities like webinars and podcasts, along with technical services and free access to tech solutions. Let us promote and sustain accessible environments. We partner with hundreds of disability-focused organizations to raise awareness and educate the public on inclusion. We spotlight community members, advocates, and leaders who make a difference with their knowledge and stories to tell. We actively support them in their efforts at worldwide events and anywhere they make their voices heard. Together, we champion change, which includes everyone, no matter the time or place. Together, we can make the world a more inclusive space. Join us.
Hey everybody, I'm Ari from Accessiby, the leader in web accessibility solutions and services. In this video, you'll learn about Access Widget, Accessiby's AI-powered web accessibility solution, and how it helps people with a wide array of disabilities browse and use websites effectively. Access Widget simplifies and streamlines web accessibility and is compliant with the ADA, AODA, EAA, and other worldwide legislations in conformance with the WCAG 2.1 at the AA level. Installing Access Widget on a website takes 2 minutes and requires no prior technical knowledge. Let's find out how it works. Access Widget is built of 2 different applications that work together to make websites accessible and compliant. The first is our AI-powered process, which handles the more complex and vast majority of WCAG requirements. These include optimizations for screen readers and keyboard navigation for blind users and those with mobility disabilities. To make these adjustments, the AI scans and analyzes the website using a contextual understanding process. It learns the purpose and function of every element before fixing it. Pop-ups, drop-downs, forms, validations, menus, links, and buttons are all included. Then, it applies different behaviors and ARIA attributes according to functionality and states of elements. Access Widget also utilizes computer vision and OCR image recognition technologies to provide accurate alternative text descriptions to images. The second part of our solution is the Accessibility Widget, which enables users with disabilities to adjust the user interface and website design for their specific browsing session, fitting their individual accessibility needs. Let's take a look. The accessibility widget mostly covers visual-related WCAG requirements and completes the AI engine. These requirements include adjustments for readable fonts, sizing, spacing, color contrasts, cursors, and emphases. Users have the choice between accessibility profiles, standalone adjustments, or both. The profiles at the top bundle together common accessibility combinations that address a specific disability. The user simply chooses the profile that's right for them. So, for example, a user with epilepsy that wishes to browse a website safely without the risk of seizures can choose the seizure-safe profile. Immediately, all colors are dulled and flashing or blinking elements are paused. Users with low vision, for example, can enable the vision-impaired profile. This visually enlarges all website components significantly, while making the colors more contrasted and saturated. Further accessibility adjustments can be made by choosing the individual options from the interface, either with the accessibility profiles or without. After the initial installation, which takes less than 2 minutes, the accessibility widget immediately appears and the AI engine begins to remediate accessibility barriers on the website. This process takes up to 48 hours, and when ready, an accessibility statement will be sent to the relevant email and uploaded within the interface. The statement confirms the accessibility work that has been made to a website and explains how it achieves compliance. The best part of our AI is that it rescans and reanalyzes a website every 24 hours to remediate new images, elements, pages, or other updated content. Access Widget comes with built-in support for 16 different languages, so all users, wherever they are, can enjoy a website. That's it. I hope you enjoyed our demo. We invite you to visit our website to learn more, start a 7-day free trial, or reach out via the live chat if you have any questions.